Dr. Mara Taylor walked through the bright hallways of Research Station Lyra 7 with a datapad in one hand and a cup of lukewarm tea in the other. She had slept only 4 hours. But that was normal for her. The station was built on the edge of a growing human frontier, and there was always something to study, measure, or repair. Being a xenobiologist meant her work never stopped. Yet she would never choose a different job. New worlds made her feel alive. Still, she was not ready for the message blinking on her datapad that morning. Assigned apprentice, Rowan Hale. Report to Lab 3. Mara frowned. She did not request an apprentice, and she did not like surprises before breakfast. But orders were orders. She sighed, brushed her hair behind her ear, and stepped into Lab 3. The young man waiting for her stood with his hands folded behind his back. He looked around 20. Though his calm expression made him seem older, he had short, dark hair, clear eyes, and the quiet posture of someone who did not want to take up space. His clothes were simple, standard trainee uniform. Nothing special. You must be Dr. Taylor, he said with a polite nod. I'm Rowan Hale. I was told to report to you. His voice was steady, almost gentle. Mara studied him for a moment. Nothing about him stood out. Another quiet apprentice. Another month of training. Someone who would probably transfer away. She plastered on a professional smile. Yes. Welcome to the team, she replied. I wasn't expecting an apprentice. But we'll make it work. Have you done field research before? Rowan thought for a moment. Not officially, he said. But I learn quickly. Mara mentally translated that to no real experience. She decided she would give him simple tasks, organizing samples, labeling data files, checking environmental readings, easy work that wouldn't slow her down. All right, she said, tapping her datapad. Today we're reviewing biosphere readings. It's quiet work, but important. Rowan nodded and followed her to the analysis station. He moved silently, almost too silently. Mara wondered if he was shy or simply uninterested. Apprentices usually asked questions, tried to impress her, or showed signs of nervousness. Rowan did none of those things. He simply watched everything around him with careful attention. Like someone observing a puzzle. When Mara pulled up the biosphere data on the holo screen, colorful graphs appeared, mapping the strange rhythms of the planet below Caris 9, known for its shimmering forests and unusual magnetic fields. These are normal readings, she explained. You can see the daily cycles here. Nothing unusual. Rowan leaned closer. His eyes scanned the lines quickly. Almost too quickly. Actually, he said softly, there's a small shift in the northern quadrant. The resonance is slightly higher than usual. Mara blinked. It took her 10 seconds to even find the area he pointed to. That's subtle, she admitted. Most people don't notice fluctuations that small. Rowan simply nodded, as if it was obvious. Mara tried not to stare, but she felt a tiny spark of interest. Maybe he wasn't as standard as he appeared. Still, she reasoned, anyone could get lucky once. She handed him a stack of sample containers. Good observation. Now let's see if you can organize these in the cryo storage. Keep them by category. Rowan nodded again and left to do the task. Mara returned to her monitors, but her mind lingered on the resonance fluctuation. She checked it 3 more times. He was right, there was a shift. Small, but unusual. Maybe he has a good eye, she thought. Some people do. When Rowan returned 15 minutes later, Mara expected him to report confusion or to ask questions. Instead, he said, I sorted all containers by molecular type and placed them in cryo slots, 12 through 16. I also adjusted container 14B because the seal was slightly loose. Mara raised an eyebrow. She followed him to the cryo room and checked his work. The containers were arranged more neatly than any apprentice had ever managed. Even some senior researchers were less organized. She inspected the one with the loose seal. He was right again. It was small enough that most people would miss it. You have a sharp mind, she said before she could stop herself. Rowan looked surprised by the compliment but said nothing. He simply folded his hands again. The day continued in this strange pattern. Every task Mara gave him, big or small, he completed with quiet focus. He wasn't fast in a rushed way. He was fast because he never hesitated. He watched, understood, and acted, no wasted motion. By noon, Mara found herself curious. Apprentices did not behave like this. They usually made mistakes, asked for help, or grew tired. Rowan did not seem tired at all. If anything, he seemed more alert as the day progressed. Finally, Mara decided to ask a simple question. Why did you choose xenobiology? Not many people do. Rowan took a moment before answering. I like understanding how systems connect, he said. Living things, environments, patterns, they all speak in different ways. I want to learn their language. It was an unusual answer. Not wrong, just different. Mara gave a thoughtful nod. That's a poetic view for a scientist. Rowan smiled lightly. Patterns are like stories, Doctor. If you read them well, you understand the world better. Mara almost laughed. She hadn't expected philosophy from an apprentice. When afternoon approached, a station-wide alert chimed. Mara frowned and opened the message. Sensor anomaly detected. Planetary biosphere shift recorded. All xenobiology staff prepare for ecological survey. All xenobiology staff prepare for ecological survey. Sensor anomaly detected. All xenobiology staff prepare for ecological survey. A survey? Already? The fluctuation Rowan noticed earlier must have grown. Mara pulled up the readings again and saw the trend. The resonance had expanded across a wider region. It looks like we're going into the field, she said. Rowan studied the data quietly. The shift is spreading faster than expected, he noted. But it still follows a predictable curve. Mara stared at him. How can you tell that so quickly? Rowan paused, then shrugged faintly. I've seen similar patterns before, but this planet is unique, Mara said. Rowan did not respond. His eyes stayed on the holo screen. His expression calm. Almost too calm. Most apprentices became excited or nervous at the idea of a field mission. Rowan looked like someone mentally preparing a checklist. Mara felt a strange mixture of curiosity and confusion. Who exactly was he? What kind of training did he have? His file wasn't very detailed, but that wasn't unusual. The station often received trainees from programs she didn't fully understand. Earth was always starting new educational experiments. Still, something felt different about Rowan. The team gathered in the preparation room an hour later. Mara checked equipment, while Rowan stood beside her, silent and observant. When she handed him a field scanner, he held it as if he already knew exactly how it worked. You've used one before? She asked. Not this model, he admitted, but the interface is familiar. Mara wondered again if that was true, or if he was simply being modest. Either way, she decided not to question it further. When the shuttle prepared for descent, Mara glanced through the window at the shimmering surface of Keras 9. The crystalline forests sparkled like oceans of glass under the afternoon sun. It was one of the most beautiful planets she had ever studied, and one of the least understood. If the biosphere was shifting, they needed to know why. Rowan took a seat opposite her. His posture remained straight, his breathing slow and steady. Mara found herself watching him for a moment. He didn't look nervous. He didn't look excited. He simply looked ready. Rowan, she said softly, have you ever been planet-side on a research mission? He hesitated. Not officially. There was that strange answer again. Mara opened her mouth to ask more, but the shuttle doors sealed with a hiss. The engines hummed. The descent began. Mara leaned back and checked her datapad one last time. Rowan closed his eyes, not in fear, but in calm focus, as though he was already preparing for whatever waited on the planet's surface. And for the first time that day, Mara felt a quiet spark of curiosity strong enough to unsettle her. Maybe, just maybe, Rowan Hale was not an ordinary apprentice at all. The shuttle from Lyra 7 touched down at the edge of the crystalline forest, with a soft hiss of air. Dr. Mara Taylor stepped onto the planet's surface, boots crunching lightly on the shimmering ground. The planet's forests were famous for their beauty, towering crystal-like structures, gentle glowing mist, and soft harmonic vibrations that traveled through the air like distant music. But today, something felt different. The air buzzed with a deeper tone, something not shown in the usual readings. The moment Mara stepped down, she sensed a faint pressure against her ears. Like the planet was humming louder than normal. Rowan Hale followed behind her, stepping onto the ground with quiet confidence. He looked around slowly, as if his mind was taking snapshots of everything. The light, the air, the shapes of the trees, the faint tremble underfoot. "Feels unstable," Rowan said softly. Mara blinked. "You can feel that too?" Rowan nodded. "The resonance is uneven. It's shifting." Mara checked her scanner, which displayed small spikes and dips on the holo screen. "You're right," she said with surprise. "These fluctuations aren't normal for this region." The rest of the survey team gathered their equipment behind them. Mara adjusted her backpack and began walking into the forest. As she moved forward, the shimmering trees chimed gently, their surfaces reflecting soft blue and green lights. Even after years of study, the planet still amazed her. Rowan walked beside her, silent but alert. His eyes moved constantly, not in fear, but in careful observation. The team had gone barely 100 meters when a deep rumble rolled through the ground. Mara froze. "What was that?" one of the researchers whispered. Rowan didn't answer. He already knew the sound. Mara checked her scanner again and felt her heart skip. A large heat signature was approaching from the right. "Apex predator," she murmured. "And a big one." The shimmer beasts of Karis 9 were known as the top species on the planet. They were massive creatures, towering bodies shaped like living crystal, long limbs, and reflective scales that shimmered with every movement. They usually stayed deep in the forest, far from survey teams. Encounters were rare, and when they did happen, the beasts were territorial and aggressive. Mara raised her hand, signaling the team to stay close. Crystal branches rustled and vibrated as something large pushed through them. The shimmer beast emerged slowly, its head rising above the highest crystal trees. Its many-faceted eyes caught the sunlight, scattering bright flashes across the clearing. Mara's breath caught. This creature could crush their shuttle with one strike if it wanted to. "Stay still," she whispered. "Let it pass." But the beast did not pass. It stopped, and then, in a way Mara had never seen before, it stepped back. Not a full retreat, just a controlled, almost respectful backward movement. Mara stared in disbelief. This isn't normal. They never back away. They don't yield ground to anything." The creature lowered its head slightly and shifted its weight. Its luminous eyes were fixed not on Mara, not on the team, but on Rowan. Rowan stood calmly in front of it, hands relaxed at his sides. He did not look scared. He simply watched the creature with the same quiet focus he displayed all day in the lab. The beast let out a low harmonic tone that vibrated through the air. Rowan tilted his head slightly, listening. "Rowan," Mara whispered. "What is happening?" Rowan answered in a soft voice. "It senses the resonance shift. It's being cautious. It's not reacting to us, it's reacting to the instability." Mara frowned. "But why step back? Why look at you like that?" Rowan hesitated, then said, "Predators respond to patterns. They recognize signals. Maybe it sees something in my energy that doesn't match the environment." Mara didn't understand. She wasn't sure Rowan understood either, or maybe he understood too much and wasn't allowed to explain. The creature eventually turned away, letting out another low hum before disappearing into the forest. But the strange part wasn't that it left. The strange part was that it looked like it granted Rowan permission to proceed. When it was finally gone, the team let out the breaths they had been holding. Mara's heart still pounded, but Rowan's expression remained steady. "That shouldn't have happened," Mara said, walking beside him again. "A shimmer beast stepping back? That's completely against their behavior patterns." Rowan nodded thoughtfully. "It was assessing us, but not as prey." "Then what was it assessing us as?" Mara asked. Rowan took a moment before answering. "As anomalies." Mara stared at him. "You're very calm about this. Rowan shrugged lightly. Calm helps me think clearly. They continued deeper into the forest. The harmonic tones grew stronger, echoing across the crystalline surfaces like waves. Occasionally, faint pulses of light traveled through the trees. Mara recorded everything carefully. It was fascinating, but also worrying. Rowan slowed his steps. "Doctor," he said quietly, "we should stop here." "Why?" Mara asked. He pointed ahead. "Because another apex predator is watching." Mara looked up sharply. She saw movement behind the thick crystal formations. A second shimmer beast emerged, but this one stayed even farther away. It did not approach at all. It simply stared. Then it stepped back too, not in fear, in recognition. Mara felt shivers run down her arms. "Rowan, this doesn't make sense. These animals are fearless. They don't behave like this." Rowan's voice remained calm. "They don't behave like this toward humans, normally." "What does that mean?" Rowan looked down at his wrist device. The small metallic band he always kept hidden under his sleeve. Mara had noticed it before, but assumed it was a standard trainee tool. Now, she wasn't so sure. Before she could ask, the ground trembled again, stronger this time. The crystalline trees vibrated and chimed in sharp tones. The harmonic wave spread through the forest like a deep breath. Mara steadied herself. Another biosphere shift. Rowan studied the shifting light around them. The planet is realigning. Something is pushing too much energy through the crystal layers. Mara stared at him. "How do you know that?" "The scanners aren't even reading that yet." Rowan didn't answer directly. "I can feel the patterns. The frequency changed the moment we passed the ridge." Mara opened her scanner again. Suddenly, the readings spiked, showing rapid changes in the environment. "You're right," she said. "The resonance is unstable." Rowan gave a small nod, as if he expected that reaction. The second shimmer beast finally moved away, disappearing into the deeper forest. The fact that it left without showing aggression was almost more unsettling than if it had attacked. Mara turned to Rowan. "I don't understand what's happening. These creatures are acting like they know something." "They do," Rowan said softly. "Apex species often sense environmental danger long before others. They react to shifts in ways we can't." "But why act differently toward you?" Mara asked. Rowan looked ahead, his expression unreadable. "Maybe they sense that I won't disrupt the pattern." "Rowan, that doesn't answer anything." "I'm answering what I can," he said gently. Mara opened her mouth to question the vague statement. But then another pulse moved through the forest, stronger, deeper. Almost like the planet itself exhaled. Rowan steadied himself. "We need to study the source of the shift. It's growing. If the resonance spreads too fast, the entire ecosystem could fall out of balance." Mara nodded. "All right. But we go carefully. The predators are too active today." Rowan glanced around. "They're not active. They're watching. That's different." A chill ran through Mara's chest. "Watching what?" Rowan looked directly at her. "The pattern. The change. And us." Mara realized then that Rowan didn't see predators as animals. He saw them as signals, pieces of a larger system he somehow understood far better than she did. They walked deeper into the forest, the vibrations growing stronger with every step. The harmony of the air shifted from soft tones to sharp, uneven pulses. Mara had 100 questions, but only one echoed loudest in her mind. Who exactly was Rowan Hale? And why did the apex predators behave as if he was someone they should step aside for? The deeper, Dr. Mara Taylor and Rowan Hale walked into the crystalline forest. The more unstable the planet's harmony became. It was not loud or dangerous, but it was unsettling. The ground gave off soft tremors, and the glowing trees flickered like lights with bad wiring. Mara kept checking her scanner every few minutes. Each time, the readings looked stranger. "We're entering a resonance pocket," she murmured. "Something is feeding energy into this area faster than the planet can handle. It's like a giant echo chamber." Rowan studied the trees with deep focus, his eyes tracing invisible patterns. "It's not just energy," he said quietly. It's direction. Something is guiding the flow, even if it's unintentional. Mara tried to understand that. Guiding? You mean like a natural force? Rowan nodded. Or a natural event. But the pattern feels too structured. Mara stared at him again. There was that strange certainty in his voice, certainty she had never seen in an apprentice before. Rowan, she said suddenly, you talk like someone who has been trained for years in advanced biosphere modeling. He hesitated, then looked away. I've studied a lot of different systems. But you aren't supposed to have access to advanced planetary training, Mara said. Apprentices don't learn this level of theory. Rowan offered no explanation. He only walked forward, gently brushing his fingers against the surface of a tall crystal tree. The tree responded instantly. A soft wave of blue light rippled outward across the forest, like a signal passing from one tree to another. Mara's eyes widened. Rowan, what did you do? Nothing harmful, Rowan said. I just matched my biofrequency to the crystal. It responds to steady rhythms. Mara felt her pulse jump. You matched your biofrequency? Rowan, that's extremely advanced work. Even trained harmony specialists struggle with that. Who taught you? Ground. Rowan only smiled faintly, but he didn't answer. His silence said more than words could. Before Mara could ask again, a strong vibration rushed through the air. The trees chimed in sharp tones that almost sounded like a warning. The ground shimmered with pale light. The resonance shift was growing. Mara checked her scanner again. It's accelerating. The whole region is reacting. We need to find the source before it spreads beyond the forest. Rowan closed his eyes for a moment. It's coming from the lower basin, he said. There's a cluster of broken crystal structures there. They're amplifying the energy in unpredictable ways. Mara blinked. How do you know that? Because the patterns point downward. Rowan replied simply. And the predators are behaving like the center is unstable. Mara felt a chill. The predators again. You think they're responding to the same thing we're detecting? They're responding faster, Rowan said. They always do. The team followed him toward the basin. The trees grew taller and thicker, their colors shifting from blue to green. The air felt heavier. But not dangerous, just dense with energy. Finally, they reached the basin. The sight before them stole Mara's breath. Dozens of crystal structures lay cracked, tilted, or shattered across the ground. They looked like giant broken pillars, each glowing faintly with uneven light. The vibrations were strongest here, like a heartbeat trapped inside stone. What caused this? Mara whispered. Rowan crouched beside a broken pillar, placing his palm gently on its surface. The planet's magnetic core shifted slightly, he said. It wasn't enough to damage the whole biosphere. But these structures are natural amplifiers. When they broke, they started feeding the energy back into the environment irregularly. Mara stared at him. You know this planet's inner structure better than I do. I've studied similar worlds, Rowan corrected softly. His voice still carried that quiet certainty, almost like he was reciting knowledge he learned long before arriving on Lyra 7. Mara stepped closer to the broken structures. They hummed softly under her feet, sending shivers up her legs. If the resonance keeps rising, it might destabilize the entire forest. The apex predators will panic. They won't panic, Rowan said. They will leave. And if they leave too suddenly, the energy in the forest will rise even faster. Their presence balances part of the ecosystem. Mara shook her head slowly. Rowan, what exactly do you know about apex predator environmental impact models? Rowan stood and looked at her seriously for the first time that day. Enough to understand what's happening here. No arrogance, no fear, just calm honesty. Before Mara could speak, another tremor rolled through the ground. The broken pillars pulsed with bright white light, sending a wave of unstable energy into the air. The trees responded immediately, chiming in loud, uneven tones. It's getting worse, Mara said, raising her voice over the noise. Yes, Rowan agreed. We need to stabilize it. How? Mara asked. We don't have the equipment. Rowan tapped his wrist device, the one he always kept hidden. I have something that can help. Mara stared at it. That isn't a standard trainee tool. No, Rowan agreed softly. He pressed a sequence of commands into the device. Soft lines of light appeared around it, forming a delicate holographic grid. What is that? Mara asked, astonished. A harmonizer, Rowan explained. It reads environmental frequencies and matches them. When used correctly, it can reduce resonance overload. Mara stepped back slightly. Rowan, those devices are classified. Only top-level strategists use harmonizers. Rowan finally met her gaze. I know. It was the first time he openly confirmed what she already suspected. You're not an apprentice, are you? Mara whispered. Rowan's expression softened. Not exactly. My training was different. But I didn't come here to deceive you. I came to help. Mara didn't know whether to feel shocked, impressed, or confused. Mostly, she felt awe. Before she could respond, Rowan stepped forward toward the center of the broken crystal structures. The harmonizer pulsed in his hand, matching the rhythm of his heartbeat. The resonance in the air rose sharply. The ground vibrated beneath their feet. The trees around them flickered with unstable light. Rowan, be careful, Mara called. Too much interference could make it worse. I know, Rowan said gently. That's why I'm matching it instead of fighting it. He closed his eyes, standing perfectly still. The harmonizer glowed brighter, sending waves of soft blue light outward. The broken crystal structures responded immediately, their inner glow becoming steadier, more controlled. The resonance in the forest began to slow. Mara watched in amazement. Rowan wasn't forcing the planet to stabilize. He was aligning with it, as if he understood its rhythm better than the machines around them. How are you doing this? She whispered. Rowan kept his eyes closed. Patterns, Doctor. Everything has a pattern. Once you learn it, you can work with it instead of against it. The air around them grew calmer. The harsh vibrations softened into gentle waves. The trembling ground steadied itself. Even the trees seemed to sigh with relief, chiming in softer tones. Rowan opened his eyes and lowered the harmonizer. The basin is stable for now, he said. But we need to reinforce the outer edges before the cycle restarts. Mara approached him slowly. Rowan, your abilities, your knowledge, the way the predators reacted to you earlier. None of this is normal. Rowan took a quiet breath. I know. Then tell me, Mara insisted softly. Who trained you? Rowan hesitated. His voice was calm, but his eyes held something deeper. Earth has started a new program, he explained. A training track for individuals who can read environmental signals faster than computers. We're called cognitive strategists. We're not fighters. We're not commanders. We're interpreters. Mara felt her chest tighten with awe. Interpreters of what, Rowan? Of change, he said simply. Of the patterns most people can't see. She swallowed slowly. And the apex predators sensed that? Yes, Rowan answered. They sensed I was aligned with the pattern they understand. They didn't see me as a threat. They saw me as someone who listens. Mara felt a quiet sense of humility wash through her. Humanity had always pushed forward through technology and strength, but Rowan represented something different. Something new. Humanity's unexpected edge, she murmured. Not power, not weapons. Understanding. Rowan looked down at the harmonizer, then at Mara. Exactly. Sometimes the greatest strength is the ability to hear what the world is trying to say. Mara realized then that Rowan Hale was far more than an apprentice. Far more than even a strategist. He represented the future she never imagined. A future in which humanity grew not by conquering worlds, but by learning to harmonize with them. The forest was quieter now. The sharp vibrations had softened into gentle waves, like calm breaths passing through the crystal trees. The broken structures in the basin glowed with steady light, no longer shaking the ground. It was a strange kind of peace, fragile, but hopeful. Dr. Mara Taylor walked beside Rowan Hale, still trying to understand everything she had witnessed. She had come to the planet expecting a simple survey, and brought an apprentice she assumed needed guidance. Instead, she found herself learning more in one day than in years of study. Rowan moved with calm purpose, checking the stabilized pillars and adjusting the harmonizer from time to time. The device pulsed with soft light that gently echoed the planet's natural rhythm. "It's holding," Rowan said quietly. The system accepted the adjustment. "Mondered too," Mara nodded, taking in every word. "Amazing. I still can't believe you did this with nothing but a portable harmonizer and your own sense of the environment." Rowan smiled slightly, but his voice stayed humble. The harmonizer didn't fix the problem. It just spoke the right language. The planet did the rest. Mara studied him for a moment. "Do you always talk like that?" Rowan chuckled softly. "Only when it's true." They left the basin and walked back toward the clearing. The survey team had spread out to record data and collect new environmental samples. Everyone talked quietly, as if afraid to disturb the fragile balance. One of the researchers approached Mara. "Doctor, the predators still haven't returned to their regular patterns. They're keeping distance from our team." Mara glanced at Rowan. "I think they're waiting." "Waiting for what?" the researcher asked. Rowan answered gently. "For the pattern to settle completely. They won't interfere while the system is adjusting." The researcher nodded slowly and walked away, unsure how Rowan knew these things but trusting him after all he had done. Mara folded her arms, looking at Rowan. "Even the team accepts your explanations now. They must feel the same thing I do." Rowan tilted his head. "Which is?" "That you're not here to learn," Mara said softly. "You're here to protect." Rowan was silent for a moment. Then he replied, "In a way, yes." They reached the edge of the clearing. The sunlight filtered through the crystal branches, scattering rainbow reflections across the forest floor. A soft breeze carried faint harmonic tones, calm, steady, peaceful. For a moment, it felt like the planet was grateful. "Mara," Rowan said suddenly, "there's something important I need to tell you." Mara turned toward him fully. "Go on." He took a breath, steady but thoughtful. "The Cognitive Strategist program is still very new. Most of our work is experimental. We're sent quietly to frontier worlds to study how humans can live with unfamiliar ecosystems instead of forcing them to adapt to us." "That sounds like an important mission," Mara said. "But why so secret?" Rowan looked down at the harmonizer. "Because people fear what they don't understand. The program isn't about power or control. It's about connection. But not everyone believes in that approach yet." Mara frowned gently. "You mean some people think it's unnecessary?" "Some think it's unrealistic," Rowan said. "Others think it's too slow. They want fast solutions, machines, shields, quick fixes. But ecosystems aren't machines. You can't force them into harmony." Mara nodded slowly. "And you believe the better path is learning the natural patterns?" Rowan smiled softly. "Yes. Humans have always been good at listening when they choose to be." Mara was quiet for a moment, considering everything. Then she said, "Rowan, earlier today, when the predators stepped back, they weren't just reacting to environmental stress, were they?" Rowan hesitated. "No. They sensed the harmonics around me. They recognized the frequency." "The one you used to calm the basin?" Mara asked. Rowan nodded. "Apex predators respond to environmental balance subconsciously. When they sensed my alignment with the planet's pattern, they didn't feel threatened. They stepped aside to avoid interrupting the stability." Mara felt a quiet awe rise in her chest. "They respected your presence." Rowan shook his head gently. "Not me. The balance. That's what they care about." Mara smiled. "Still, you were the one creating it." Rowan looked slightly embarrassed. "Maybe a little." Before Mara could respond, the ground gave a soft hum, not unstable, just a natural shift as the forest continued recovering. But it drew Rowan's attention instantly. "It's a settling wave," he murmured. "The planet is adjusting to the new equilibrium. The predators will move again soon, back to their normal roles." Content Uzi. Content Uzi. Content Uzi. Content Uzi. Content Uzi. Content Uzi. Mara looked around. The forest felt lighter, calmer, almost like it was waking from a long sleep. Then she noticed movement. A shimmer beast stepped into the clearing, not fast, not aggressive, just present. Its towering form glowed faintly in the shifting sunlight. Its many-faceted eyes looked first at Mara, then at the other researchers, and finally at Rowan. But something was different this time. It didn't step back. Instead, it stood still, watching Rowan with calm acknowledgement. Not fear, not caution, recognition. Rowan stepped forward slightly, not close, but enough to show he understood. He lowered his head just a little, a small, respectful gesture. The shimmer beast responded by lowering its head as well. A silent exchange passed between them, something deeper than communication, an understanding of shared responsibility for the world around them. Mara watched with amazement. "Rowan, this is incredible." Rowan's voice was soft. "This is what harmony looks like." The shimmer beast lifted its head again and turned away, walking back into the forest with slow, deliberate steps. Not fleeing, not avoiding, just continuing its role. The moment it disappeared, Rowan turned to Mara. "It's done," he said. "The environment is stable. The predators will resume their natural patterns. The team can finish their survey safely." Mara felt both relief and wonder. "You changed everything today." Rowan shook his head again. "I didn't change the planet. I just listened to it." Mara smiled. "You know, before today, I thought humanity's future on frontier worlds depended on stronger technology and faster machines. But now, I'm not so sure." Rowan glanced at her. "What do you think it depends on?" "On people like you," Mara said. "People who can read what others don't see. People who can understand balance instead of forcing control." Rowan's expression softened. "I hope there will be more of us." "There will be," Mara said with confidence. "Humanity always learns, sometimes slowly, sometimes painfully, but it learns. Maybe the future won't be about conquering worlds. Maybe it will be about earning their trust." Rowan gave a gentle nod. "That's the goal." They began walking back toward the shuttle. The planet's soft harmonies followed them, no longer chaotic or frightened, but steady and welcoming. As they walked, Mara glanced at Rowan again. "When you return to Earth, what will you tell your program?" Rowan thought for a moment. "I'll tell them the planet responded well. I'll tell them the harmonizer technique worked. And," he paused, then added with a small smile, "I'll tell them I met a xenobiologist who saw things clearly when others might have ignored them." Mara laughed softly. "Are you giving me a compliment?" "Yes," Rowan said. "You treated me like a person, even when the truth didn't make sense yet. That matters." Mara felt warmth in her chest. "Well, I'm glad you were assigned to me." Rowan looked ahead at the shining forest. "So am I." As they reached the clearing, the sun reflected across the crystalline branches in brilliant colors. It felt like the planet was sending them off with a gentle farewell. Mara took one last look at the towering forest. "Rowan, you know the predators stepped aside because they recognized something in you. But I want you to recognize something too." Rowan raised an eyebrow. "What is that?" That your work today wasn't just strategy or training," Mara said. "It was leadership. Quiet, humble leadership. The kind that makes even apex creatures give space." Rowan's calm expression warmed into a genuine smile. "Thank you, Doctor." Together, they approached the shuttle, ready to return to Lyra 7 with new data, new understanding, and a future neither of them could have imagined that morning. The girl, the scientist, had thought he was just an apprentice, but the apex predators had stepped back, and the galaxy, slowly but surely, was beginning to understand why.